Now, one major issue that was considered in both chambers this week is the planned rehabilitation of the runway in the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport and the planned closure of that airport. The Senate met with the Minister of State on Aviation, while the House also considered the matter.
The Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amechi, and the Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, walk into the Senate chamber. They are here to explain the reason for the planned closure of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The Minister of State Aviation had announced that the airport would be closed for 6 weeks in March to allow for the repair of the runway. But these lawmakers are vehemently opposed to the closure of the airport for 6 weeks, saying it would seriously inconvenience local and international travelers who would have to land at the Kaduna airport before driving down for almost 3 hours to Abuja.
That Abuja runway, which is now the subject matter,
the Minister of State Aviation explains to lawmakers the reason for the planned closure of the airport.
As a matter of fact, in all length and breadth of the runway have totally collapsed. And this collapse, it is not the surface. It's not the asphalt surface. It is the entire architecture of that runway from bottom up in all of the 4 layers.
Questions and answers follow.
Did you explore other options that may not necessarily mean closing down the airport before the runway is repaired?
We have maintained runways and closed airports at night. It's not new. If you are digging up the entire architecture and building up a new runway like we're going to do, it's tough, difficult. It affects the riding quality of the runway.
I think you've told us that the repairs of the runway is 5.8 billion. We you still believe that it is prudent for us, for that 6 weeks, to spend almost the same cost of the rehabilitation in just carrying out this exercise?
I do believe that even if it will be doubled, it is worth the life of the citizens of Nigeria and those that are coming into Nigeria to do businesses.
The Senate is yet to arrive at a decision from this interaction with the Minister of State for Aviation, but he has been asked to return next week Tuesday for a continuation of this discussion with the cost of the logistics for the repair of the runway. The upper chamber has also asked the Minister of State for Aviation to consult with the Nigerian Society of Engineers before he appears before the Senate next week Tuesday.
Alarm that subjecting innocent Nigerians and foreigners to the perils of road travels in a recession, with increases in armed robbery, hijacking and kidnapping along our roads, is totally uncalled for. Dismayed about the entire decision-making process of this arm of government that resulted in this proposal, we therefore invite the House resolves that the Federal Ministry of Transportation and Aviation to halt the planned closure of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and to explore alternative methods of carrying out the renovation of the runway. And to mandate the committees of the House to ensure implementation and report back to the House within 2 weeks for further legislative action.
The House has resolved that the Minister of State for Aviation appear before it to also brief it on the matter. We wait for that meeting. Our next report is on a motion on the political developments in the Republic of the Gambia.
Come up before us.
The House of Representatives is urging President Muhammadu Buhari to provide an offer of asylum in Nigeria to President Yahya Jammeh of Gambia if he accepts defeat in the elections and gives up power. A motion on the matter was presented to the House during the plenary on Thursday.
The clock is ticking for the survival of democracy in that country, and therefore there is the need to intensify preventive diplomacy in order to save the Gambia from descending into chaos with dire consequence for the West African sub-region as a result of a likely armed conflict and mass displacement of persons.
Most members were in support of the motion.
And I think that since Nigeria has always been customarily generous to all African leaders,
that if that is what it comes to, should he find an open window for him to leave Gambia so that there is conflict resolution, so that that country does not degenerate into yet another unstable African country?
It is nice for us to support the rising profile of Mr. President in the international community, whereupon he has been given the leadership of the team that will negotiate this man out of the office. But for the Parliament to stand up now and say that we are here willy-nilly offering you an asylum, to me, we send wrong signals, and that is why I'm saying that in spite of the goodness of the intention, we should tread softly and not allow this motion.
We must make it clear to the world that by urging our president to offer this olive branch, we are not in any way saying that we support sit-tight leadership in any country in Africa. That is why I have submitted a proposal for amendment. We should make the position of this House clear. We should have a statement to show that we do not support Jammeh's continuation as the president of Gambia. Nonetheless, in our big, broader role in Africa, we could allow him a breathing space.
The Speaker also added his voice to the debate.
The intentment behind the motion is to strengthen Mr. President's hands in terms of giving him more tools that he can use to engage in negotiation. If it turns out to be that he doesn't want it, fine, he can reject it. But the message out there would be that the people of Nigeria have spoken through Parliament that they are prepared, if that is the fear, to house him in this country.
It was then put to a voice vote.
Those in favor of the motion, as amended, say aye. Those against it, say nay. The ayes have it.
This resolution comes as President Muhammadu Buhari leads the ECOWAS mediation team to the Gambia in a bid to broker a deal with President Jammeh.
Some commendation came the way of the Nigerian Armed Forces from the House of Representatives this week, even as members called for some benefits for the families of brave and gallant officers who laid down their lives for the country.
Resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff to work towards instituting insurance and housing schemes for the personnel of the armed forces in the event of disability or death, in order to ensure that our fallen heroes are not forgotten. Also commend the Chief of Defense, Army, Air and Naval Staff and members of the armed forces for their doggedness and courage which led to the defeat and consequent capturing of the Sambisa forest from the Boko Haram sect.
As a nation, as a parliament, just how do you repay those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty? That is the question, Mr. Speaker, and I think most of the demand in this motion will answer those. So I plead with my honorable colleagues to please allow this motion to pass, because most of the things contained in this motion, we believe would cater for the members of the armed forces, both serving and late.